Welcome back to the Behind the Well Show. Roger Abel back with Elias Randall. Eli, 2025 is already flying by. And I don't know if you caught it yesterday. Did you happen to watch Jerome Powell and the FOMC?
I did not watch the meeting, but I went through the headlines afterwards, and I get the gist of what happened. I didn't watch the meeting, though. I was busy.
Yeah, I brought that up because we have this in the outline today, and we'll talk about it. And I didn't watch the whole meeting, but I did watch part of it. And one of the things he mentioned is that right now we really are in the tale of two economies. And we've been talking about that for a long time. If you on the surface look at the numbers that the GDP numbers and consumption, all the other numbers that are out there, in general, the economy looks really healthy. But he made the comment, it's the tale of two economies. We have one side of the economy who they have assets, they have 401ks, and inflation that they've seen has helped them grow their net worth. Like they are better off than they were 5 years ago or 4 years ago, whatever. But he mentioned there's part of this economy that is really struggling right now just to make ends meet. And it really is because if you didn't have any assets and you didn't have a 401k and all you had was leverage in debt, or you're young and haven't had the opportunity to build it yet, you've gotten crushed the last 4 years. And the reason I bring that up is, one, we've been talking about that for the better part of 6 to 12 months, that, there's two sides of this, but credit defaults are soaring and total debt just hit a 12-year high. Credit card debt is at an all-time high, but people are now starting to default because think just about the way in which people spend money. If you're used to spending $700 a month at Chick-fil-A and then you're out of money, like you have no more cash, what are you going to do? You have this habit. Or going to Starbucks, you have a habit. So you're going to keep going, and now you're going to use your credit card. And pretty soon, it's maxed out. And our society has become one of just a massive consumer society. I think about how we're marketed to today. It is so much more effective than it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, they ran an ad in the newspaper or on TV or on the radio. And of all the people watching that show, there was a small fraction of people drawn to that advertisement or that it actually worked for. Today, when you go into your social media feed, whatever your choice is, all of the marketing is highly targeted towards you. And all day long, you are getting information that you actually want and like. I have an example. There's a company that makes these swim baits for fishing. They're like 7-8 inches long. They're $140 to $180 for one of them. But you don't need like a bunch of them, right? I've got 4 or 5 for my arsenal. Well, guess what showed up in my Facebook feed the other day?
There's a deal on them.
There wasn't a deal. They're hard to get. So a lot of times they do a drop on Facebook because they'll sell out within an hour or two because they're all handmade. They're all custom. Well, I saw it. Well, guess what?
You bought some.
I bought. No part of my day did I wake up saying, I need another swim bait for fishing, because frankly, I don't. But this was a new style and a new color that I didn't have. So just think about the marketing that's happening and all the extra purchases people are making. So it doesn't surprise me that all of a sudden we are running into a situation where people are out of money and they're overspending.
Yeah, and I think with, the two economies, the tale of two economies, there's a couple things I think people can take away. If you're not in the class of people that were to benefit from inflation and you would like to be, I think it also highlights, especially with how effective marketing is now, it's probably more prudent now really than ever to really execute basic financial things correctly, like living within your means, having a budget, don't overspend, save and invest your money, because you're not going to go from being in a position where, okay, this is challenging, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, I have too much debt, to the other side of this economy where you can be someone who has investments and has an ability to grow their net worth without being intentional about it. I mean, yeah, you might get lucky and win the lottery, but what are your odds of that? It's where you're more likely to get struck by lightning.
I think
so. I think it highlights that too, where taking control of your finances, which it's hard and it can be painful. It's not always easy, but that's the solution to it. To have some sort of strategy to get yourself to a place where you have an emergency fund, your debt is under control, you're investing money for your long-term well-being. So I agree exactly with all of that. And inflation, like you just said, who does inflation hurt the most? It hurts people at the bottom end of the economy and the income spectrum the most because they have the least amount of resources. So it's most painful for them when goods become more expensive.
Well, I mean, combination, you mentioned three takeaways I'm going to hit on. One, they have less resources, right?
Yeah.
But two, they likely already have debt. That's why they have less resources. When
that contributes.
Inflation happens, typically the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, which makes the cost of that debt go up. The third thing you mentioned is you use the word intentional about saving. People don't accidentally, for the most part, become wealthy. They don't build wealth accidentally. It is because it was intentional. And intentional doesn't mean it needs to be hard. It's really as easy as going and figuring out, how can I max out my 401k every year? And do that from the time you're 23 till 60, you'll likely be in really good shape because you were very intentional about it. But if you're just kind of being willy-nilly, it may or may not work out. And I don't know about you, but I don't really like luck to play all that much of a role in my financial future. And some people, that's what they're hoping on. You mentioned winning the lottery. Sure, you could win the lottery. Likely, you won't. And even if you do win, it won't be the big one. You might win 10,000. Right? You might get a scratchy and hit it big on Christmas, but it's not going to be meaningful enough to probably, change your whole life. And, we see that all the time. I think one of the things that has happened and where I think a lot of money is going right now, it's not just to debt, but the onslaught of legalized gambling online. I have to think people are losing boatloads of money doing this because I know people who just randomly, I know someone betting on ping pong. How do you get an edge in ping pong? And that's nothing against the person. I mean, Jonas loved it, but think about it. Everybody, I'll go watch a football game and everybody has their phone out. A lot of them are making bets.
Yeah, they're checking their
bets. They're making a halftime bet, and it's pretty addicting. And the odd thing is, and I've heard this, some of these people are liking it, the gambling to investing. Like they're justifying what they're doing. This is an investment. I'm going to win. They think they're going to win.
Yeah, that's not an investment. That's a hobby. That's an activity that you can make money on. I know there's people who are good at it. There's a lot more people who are not good at it. So you can make money, but to be someone who's going to consistently make money, sports gambling, that's just a fool's proposition. That's not going to happen.
Elias, I know individuals that bet more money than if people knew what they ran through their account, they would drop their jaw.
Yeah.
And of all the money they spend through the account, they might win a few thousand a year or lose a few thousand a year. And it's not like 50,000, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. Right? Remember how the casino wins. And they're not losing that. Like some years they make a little, some years they lose a little. But remember, how does a casino
just wants
win?
you participating. The longer you participate, the better odds they have of making money on you.
They don't want to suck you dry fast because you'll never come back. They want to bleed you slowly and you never feel. And then, because here's what happens. What do people turn it into? Well, this is my entertainment. That's how they justify it. And hey, rightfully so. If you're losing $20 a week watching football, Okay. I mean, I can think of a lot of hobbies that are way more expensive than that.
Well, and it's not always a problem either. There's plenty of people who it is entertainment for them, but the thing that they're doing that some people aren't is they're executing basic wealth building strategies.
Yeah, the people
if I'm maxing a 401k and maxing a couple Roth accounts every year, and I say, hey Roger, I gamble $200 a month on sports gambling. Do you think that's an issue?
No.
For me, no. It's something it's a lifestyle hobby. It's something I like to do, but it's not at the detriment of being an adult with my money or building my wealth, right? Because it's not, if you do a few basic things right, it's really not that hard. And there's kind of the spectrum of savers too, where, I work with some families. Actually, the other day was reviewing with a younger family. They're right around 40. Their goals are to be financially independent at age 50. And they will be, but here's what they've done that a lot of people are unwilling to do. They've always lived off of one income and then designed their savings off of saving all of the money from the other spouse's income. And he asked me, he's like, that's worked. It's been pretty easy for us, and that's what we do. Do a lot of people do that? I said, well, we have a lot of young families that do stuff like that because it's a very good way to be successful. But in general, no, people do not take that approach to their finances. And these are, I would say they're an extreme example of just great savers, right? Their house is paid off. They have no debt already. And, they're the type of people they wouldn't sports gamble, but if they continued doing all the things they're doing and had a sports book app on their phone and gambled a little bit of money, it's not going to be a problem for them.
So I'll tell you what got me thinking about this a little bit, because there are people saying, hey, gambling on sports, it's an investment. Well, I can argue that there are people gambling in the stock market. And I just did a video for Instagram the other day talking exactly about this.
Well, remember when during COVID and they didn't have sports for a little bit, and all the flows into Robinhood
went into the stock market.
Yeah, all the flows into the market went up.
Yeah,
on all those different things because people, they couldn't gamble on sports, right? So they needed a new place to gamble. I don't think they were coming in and buying
and holding.
Right, and being successful investors. They were being speculative traders, basically.
And this is where people listening to this show, I'm going to venture to guess, are investors and not gamblers. And I did this video just about a week ago. You can go out to the premieriwm.com. You'll see it on our Instagram page and YouTube. But here's what it was about. The DeepSeek incident that just happened, the AI app that really caused tech here in the U.S. I mean, we saw a number of companies down 15 to 20% in a day. And this is exactly what I said. If you're buying individual stocks, like if you're buying an individual stock hoping it's going to go up or going to go down, you really have entered some realm closer to gambling. Because if all you own is one stock, it's either up or down. And if you told me you own 20 different stocks, now you're getting close. You're probably diversified as long as you own those in different asset classes and different industries and all those different things. If you could have 20, you're diversified. But if you own one stock, I'm going to argue that you're gambling.
When we talk about predicting and speculating a lot, we cover that topic a lot, and who all of these investors that put big bets on different AI companies, and then DeepSeek comes out and they figured out a way to do all of these things for a fraction of the cost. And not
maybe.
Right, but it still caused this huge wave.
Correct.
How are you, right? You can speculate all you want, but that happens. Did you know how many people knew that was going to happen? Yeah, people started to catch on to it.
Now, there wasn't a single person that knew, because if they really knew, you wouldn't have seen the cause and effect in the stock market. Like if the real big smart money knew it was coming over the last 90 days, they would have got out of their position. But what happened? This came like, wow, sell.
Right. And to your point, someone I follow, the stuff that they write, they actually wrote about it like Wednesday or Thursday before the sell-off, and there was no reaction until Monday.
So
then his
the
next,
people I'm thinking about?
probably, and then his next take on it was, I kind of knew about this. I wrote about it. I was surprised there's no reaction before Friday. Well, then over the weekend, people were testing the software and seeing how it works. And then Monday, there was this huge reaction to it. But everyone found out. So it just it goes to show when you're speculating, there's always something unknown that can happen. And no matter how great the company is, there's a possibility that they won't continue to be great, or they'll have a new competitor that's even better.
Another thing that's coming up, and it really relates to the gambling and this sports betting, is we've got the Super Bowl coming. And, Sunday's one of my favorite days of the year, February 9th.
Super Bowl Sunday?
Yeah.
It's the best football game of the year.
But, there's going to be a lot of money, people speculating on this. And I get it. If it's your entertainment, it's good. But in general, Super Bowl isn't just about, people using the gambling app. That's kind of new. But Super Bowl Sunday, there's a lot of money going in and out on spending. We have some of the really cool numbers to run over. And I don't know if you're excited, but I'm actually relatively excited for this game. I think
I am. There's a lot. Here's what's going to happen. We're either going to see a team win their third Super Bowl in a row, so it's never happened, which is awesome, or we're going to potentially see a great upset. I don't know if the Eagles are favored or not. They're not, in my opinion. I
don't know. I think they'd have to be favored. They got the best defense they've ever had. I don't know. They have a lot of weapons.
How do you get favored over the two-time defending Super Bowl champions that no one can figure out how to beat at the end of the game? So maybe the Eagles are the favorite in the game. I have no idea, but good luck. Good luck beating the Chiefs when it matters. I've just watched too many of their games where they figure out how to win. That's what good teams do. Good teams figure out how to win.
I want the Chiefs to win.
Why is that?
Well, I spent so much time in Missouri and Kansas City area that I want the Chiefs to win.
Yeah,
I like watching Mahomes.
I'd like to see something that's never happened before.
Yeah, I think that would be cool, but I'm realistic too. I've watched a lot of football this year, and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a great matchup for the Chiefs because the Eagles have a good defense. They can run the ball. So if the Eagles can keep a lot of time of possession, cause a turnover or two, you never know.
Arguably, they have the number one running back in football, and they have the unstoppable play, the tush push. Nobody can stop it. It's unstoppable. Even with, and there's another storyline. Jason Kelsey, right? That's the other storyline here.
Travis Kelsey, you mean? Or
Jason's retired from the Eagles.
Yeah,
that's where he played. It's the storyline. We have the Kelsey brothers back again. I know he's not playing.
He's not
storyline,
so it doesn't matter.
All right, but let's hit on some of the cool numbers. All right, on average, Americans are expected to spend $142.
Yeah, easy. That's easy to do. You go buy a couple drinks
Go to
and
Hy-Vee.
some food for the game.
Couple other key findings. More Americans are planning on dialing back their Super Bowl spending. 75% of Americans say they'll tune in for the Super Bowl, but 31% of those who will watch said they'll spend less on this game this year. About half said they spend the same. And my guess is, if we're looking at everybody as a whole, well, if your credit cards are maxed out and you're on buy now, pay later, the Super Bowl party is probably one of the places you could cut pretty quick.
Yeah, it's all related. There's a big percentage of consumers that are stretched right now in their budget, so you're not going to go spend money on the Super Bowl. You don't have to spend any money to watch. You got to have a TV and pay for cable, but you can watch the game without doing all the extra stuff or going to a bar, sports bar to watch it. You can just watch the game at the house.
All right, so this is how far we've gone. 20 years ago, it was illegal to bet from your house, right? You had to have a bookie.
Yeah,
and it was still illegal.
It was illegal, yeah.
Okay, this year, because of sports betting, 41% of Super Bowl watchers said they are going to place a bet 41% of the people are going to bet.
So, and I want the listeners to know I am not in that.
I'm not a better
41
either. I've tried. I just lose. I don't want to give my money away. But check this out. So they give the breakdown, 66% Gen Zers. That makes sense. Like they're in that world. But among all the bettors, 41% of people plan on spending 100 or more. And this is the scary part. 40% of them will use a credit card to place the wager.
Really?
They're going to fill their account up with their credit card to place the wager.
How is that, like a cash advance? How do you?
No, I mean, you just charge it to your card.
Okay, you charge it to your card. Yeah. Okay, because you're not taking cash out.
That's amazing.
Wow, that is impressive. Good move. Bet on the Super Bowl with your credit card.
But that's the problem because it's seen as entertainment now. And, we know that's an expensive day. It's a lot of fun. Most people can't even afford the tickets to go to this game.
So here's a big question.
Yeah.
Are the Chiefs undefeated in the Super Bowl when T Swift is there? Because they probably are. Did she go to the one they lost? They weren't dating back the last time they lost.
No, they started dating like a year or two. They started dating in 2000. Why do I know this? They started dating in 2023.
Yeah, so Chiefs are undefeated when T Swift's at the Super Bowl. That's all you need to know.
And like you said, got the best last-minute quarterback of all time. So really what they want to have happen, they want the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands with about 2 minutes left in the game, either tied or down by less than 7. And then that gives the Chiefs, give the stat on Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, so talking stats and all this and numbers, this I found fascinating. So Trey Wingo had this on his podcast. I believe since 2001, there's been 125 drives to either tie the game in the playoffs, and this is all playoffs, not just Super Bowls. 125 drives to either tie or take the lead in NFL playoffs. 40% is the success rate on those situations for teams. So Tom Brady was like 5 for 11. Drew Brees was 3 for 6. Patrick Mahomes is 7 for 7 in that scenario. So he's double. There's no other argument of who's the most clutch quarterback ever because he could not do it 7 times in a row, and he's still better than Tom Brady at it.
So you know what? That through the betting apps, you could bet on that if it happens. There will be a line. You'll know the number to take.
A prop bet on
so
that.
Let's leave with it. Because the Super Bowl is coming, there are lessons that correlate with the world of investing at the same time. So as we go into the game, let's just kind of take 7 things that I think are investing lessons you can learn from the Super Bowl, and we're going to hit them quick. But the first one is you got to focus on your goals. Going into the season, each one of these teams had a goal. Every team in the NFL has the goal of winning the Super Bowl.
They should.
They have a goal. And once you have the goal, then you can try to work backwards as to how you get there. So just like the Super Bowl, when you're investing, you need to have a goal. And think about how they do this. When you set the goal as, I want to win the Super Bowl, it's not just, I want to win. Then you have to break it down into those short-term goals. How are we going to get there? What are we going to do this week of training camp that helps us get in a position to get to that game? So you have to break your goals into short and long-term goals. Then you can create and craft your financial plan, your investment strategy around those goals. 2, think about the whole game.
Yeah, think about the whole game, and I think you kind of go one play at a time too, right? Because the whole game, which we just talked about how Patrick Mahomes is so successful at end of the game situations. So he probably doesn't think about a mistake that he made, right? He's thinking about this, what do I need to do right now?
Well, and to that point, number 3 is use timeout strategically. This is the one thing in football that they do not want to waste. Are timeouts. Like having to take a timeout because we have too many men on the field or we didn't get the play in time. That's not using those strategically. They'd much rather save those timeouts for the last, call it 2 to 3 minutes of the game, and strategically use them, just like investing. Once in a while, you have to take a step back, look at the plan, and strategize a little bit and say, hey, do we need to make a change here and there? But you shouldn't constantly be taking a timeout from the stock market, right? Then you're trying to time this thing. So be very strategic if you're going to take a timeout.
Well, and with how being strategic with your timeouts, I think another good lesson from whether it's football, just competition in general, make the most of your limited time, right? So I think a lot of investors, regardless of where you're at, you could be a young investor, and maybe you as a young person making the most of your time as an investor is you can invest $200 a month, right? It's a good start. It's better than nothing. And if you're someone who is, let's say you're retired and you're taking money out, when we talk with people about their spending and stuff like that, like just the other day we had a conversation, some folks want to go buy a new vehicle. Their accounts have done great the last 2 years, right? Well, let's make the most of this opportunity, harvest some of these fruits, go buy yourself a vehicle. Don't take a loan to purchase it. Yeah, at the end of the day, you're going to have less in your accounts, but what is this money for, right? This money's for you to enjoy your lifestyle. So I think there's a lot of things investors can be intentional on to make the most of their limited time, especially if they have a plan and they're executing that plan and sticking to the kind of the parameters of it.
Well, and, once you have a plan, just like the NFL, those teams have a plan of what they want their teams to look like, and they draft players carefully around their plan. And that's kind of the same thing you should be doing with your finances. You're drafting players, whether it's the people that are going to help support you in a professional manner or the investments you're going to allocate to. You're drafting players or picking, professionals, investments, or people to surround you to make you most successful. And you have to be a little conscious and careful about how you do that. Think about the best football teams. They don't go draft a new quarterback every year. Hopefully they find the franchise quarterback they get to keep for 20 years, like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, hopefully.
And
not
that's
every
what
quarterback
that's
is
what people
a Patrick Mahomes, but
right. But same thing. If you draft the right people and you're comfortable with where you're at, you don't need to be shopping for new players. And when you go to the draft the next year, you're really saying, "Hey, what complements what I already have in place?" versus just starting over every single year.
Yeah, and I think with that, the drafting players, it's like the professionals you're kind of surrounding yourself with to get help. And then, a football team needs a range of players, right? There's different positions, different skill sets. So like a focus on diversity, right? And the range of players, and in investing, you can really liken that to diversification. Not all of your money should be assigned the same responsibilities. It depends on where you're at as an investor and what your goals are, right? So someone who's accumulating, their asset classes are going to be different than someone who's retired and on a distribution strategy and taking money out. So just understanding where I'm at as an investor, what my goals are, what are the responsibilities assigned to each different bucket of money over the next year, 3, 5, 6, 10 years and beyond, that's going to help you just make really good decisions and be a successful investor.
And the last and seventh similar trait is play your hardest. The players in this game probably are going to put forth the most effort they've put forth all year, right? Like, it's the last game. You get to let it all hang out. You don't have to, manage your snaps. It's the last game. And they're
Travis Kelce's not going to be on load management in the Super Bowl.
He's going to have 12 catches for $160 and 2 touchdowns.
They've been saving him all year.
Everybody's like, Travis Kelce's washed up. No, he's not. They just need him when it counts.
He's too old to touch the ball 12 times a game.
Yeah, he'll be hurt by the 7th game.
Until Super Bowl Sunday.
But that's full effort. So what can investors do? Well, one, if you have the time, desire, and knowledge, learn as much as you can and delegate, and if you have those traits, then just put your maximum effort in. But if you don't have the time, the desire, or the knowledge, or the technology to manage your finances, then you start to outsource those traits and those positions to the pros and let them handle your situation as needed. You know, you don't have to do this yourself. That's why we're here. We're here to help people, help you make really wise financial decisions. And, you know, I thought today was a really fun show. I'm looking forward to seeing the outcome of the Super Bowl. Personally, go Chiefs, but I just want to see a good game.
Yep. Me too. The big game's coming up.
With that said, I want to thank everybody for watching the show. If you enjoy our videos or you enjoy listening to the podcast, do us a favor, subscribe. If you're looking for help getting a financial plan implemented or figuring out what your individual risk capacity is, you know, click the link in the description, or you can go to premieriwm.com. You can click Get Started and we'll connect you with one of our advisors across the country. Once again, Behind the Well Show, I want to thank everybody for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. The opinions voiced in this show are for general information purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Premier Investments and Wealth Management and LPL Financial do not provide tax advice. Please consult your tax professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. There's no guarantee that a diversified portfolio will enhance overall returns or outperform a non-diversified portfolio. Diversification does not protect against market risk. Rebalancing a portfolio may cause investors to incur tax liabilities and/or transaction costs, and does not assure profit or protect against loss. All performance referenced is historical and is not a guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and cannot be invested into directly. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of principal.